Hey, I want to welcome everybody to really what is the inaugural God is Love broadcast. This vision for this wonderful website, this vision for these podcasts came from a good friend of mine, Jimmy DeLucia. I always say his name that way. A lot of people say it a lot of different ways, and some people call him James and all this stuff. But I met Jimmy down on the floor of the commodity exchange many years ago, and we became friends. We became friends because we were both kind of searching for God in our own way. And I was kind of a weirdo. I was walking around preaching everywhere I could, and handing out these letters. And most people were kind of put off by that, repulsed by that. But Jimmy wasn't. And Jimmy came over and actually attended some of our events and some of our prayer time, some of our Bible studies. We got to know each other. And as he did and as we did, I gave Jimmy a Bible at that time. And 20 years later, he comes back to me trying to return this Bible as if I needed another Bible. So I just said to Jimmy over our lunchtime, "What's going on, man?" We shared our hearts. We kind of reconnected. Great stuff went on in that conversation. We prayed together. He talked about what he was doing spiritually on a regular basis, about meditation, his children, his wife, all these wonderful things that he was working on. And then he shared and reminded me of a vision that he had years and years ago called God is Love. And so I want to bring Jimmy on right now and really have him share his heart, because the work that we're doing now, the team that we're building now, really comes out of Jimmy's childhood and out of Jimmy's walk and out of his calling that he'll be able to share with you directly. So Jimmy, just remind me, where you first saw the sign and what that even did to your spirit.
Thanks, Dan. Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. Jim DeLucia. There is different ways to pronounce the name. But yeah, I grew up part of my life, in my childhood in Fort Myers, Florida. And there's, McGregor Boulevard, if anybody's familiar with it, there's a sign. The sign dates back to the 1940s. It's a neon sign. God is Love. It's green neon. I know this sign. I'm familiar with the sign because I used to, pass it every day when I was on McGregor Boulevard, and it was on the road, McGregor Boulevard, and that sign was just before you made the left onto my street, Argyle Drive, Fort Myers. No longer live there. I haven't lived there for 20 or 30 years. But during that time, the sign, I believe it was, the legend has it that someone had a car accident in front of this person's house, and that person, the person died, and it's just a legend. I'm not sure if it's confirmed. And that person died in the guy's arms, and the guy erected the sign in 1943, I believe. And he left all his money to keep this neon sign going. And throughout the years, it was going, and like in 2008, 2009, the guy long passed away, and the sign was in horrible condition, and they were trying to raise money. They were thinking about taking it down. I thought maybe I could buy the sign. It'd be nice to have. It reminds me of my childhood and all that things. I remember my parents just saying it's the left right after the God is Love sign. So it was dear to me. So long story short, they raised the money to refurbish the sign and get it lit again. So then I'm like, man, I really like to do what this guy does. It just spreads the message. Yeah, what is love? God is love, right? And everybody down there who drives on McGregor Boulevard sees this sign, no matter what. It's just right there. As they pass, they get that message. So I'm like, okay. So my background is, other than being working with Dan on the commodity exchange, my background also, I own a transit furniture advertising company, or mini billboards that I put on bus shelters throughout New Jersey. So I've done this since the mid '90s, and and always kind of like thinking one way: how do I get the message God is love out like that guy, and how do I and how do I operate my business? And one day, eureka, it came to me like I could do that. So I guess this was right around the same time you know, you and I met up again when I could return your Bible, which is now
That's
my Bible.
right.
You know, I wanted to do this, campaign, and we've been doing it for maybe a year now,
Yep.
right? And we're spreading the God is Love message throughout New Jersey right now. Hopefully, we'll grow. And, we have 20 or 30 signs out at any given time, some in New York as well. So,
And what's your vision for that?
my vision, too, is just to spread the awareness, right? So, the bottom line on any bottom line is love, is God. And, it's people need, with the world the way it is now,
Yep.
that's the backstop. That is where you could just drop all that chaos, all that
Right.
fast living stuff that's around. But as we gain traction, I'm hoping to every turnpike across the short inches.
And I see these signs. Dios es amor.
Yeah.
We go right down in and we run into the Spanish market and we go down into Mexico. We see this on Highway 1 out in California. And we begin to gather a team of people to be excited about this. I find when I do the podcast about God is love, I like to remind people, and that God is love, and that's because so they think love is love, right? They don't really attach love to God, but it creates a very, very strong. There's a spiritual aspect of love that gets out of the equation, and so I think when you think about it, it's on your mind all night. That must be driving for you. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree. I agree with exactly what you said, right? It's, there are people that just take love as a word. There's people that look at God in a different light, right? My belief is that love is encompassed in everything, and therefore God is in everything. Everything that you see, everything that you do, a portion of that love around us, and it's in all that we do, all that we share, especially the good, sometimes the bad.
Well, what I love about listening to you, Jimmy, is that when you say love and when you say God, you say it as a reconciliation. You say it very inclusive, which is so beautiful, and it's oftentimes not done that way through religious people. Religious people oftentimes define God as a set of rules and regulations and not really a grace-giving, forgiveness-giving, reconciliation God, more of a punishing God, more of a you're going to go to hell kind of thing. And I don't think that's your message or my message or Pierre's message at all. And so when we put this out, we want to make sure that we continue to do exactly what you and I are doing right now, Jim, which is preach through a conversation, preach through relationship, and not even use the word preach so much as let's just go on this journey together. Let's talk about this, and let's just see what good we can do together, because God is love.
Exactly. Amen. Amen. I think that everybody just will realize with this message that exactly what you said. God's going to punish you. Yeah, that's not my belief. God's going to you have to follow a strict set of laws. You have to do what you need to do is have a relationship with love, and that's having a relationship with God. It's about how you perceive and think it. If you think that love is in your life, God is in your life, right? And,
that's beautiful, Jim. And one of the things I love that you and I, two pretty tough old codgers from the floor, are sitting here having a conversation about, how we feel about love and how we feel about the relationship to love. And then, of course, we'll bring it to how you feel about your parents, how you feel about your spouse, how you feel about your children, and then you take that out because your message is, I want that conversation on more people's minds and on their lips, because you believe that conversation is the conversation to healing some of our divisions in our country, racial divisions,
even the world,
economic divisions, political divisions, even ideological divisions. We can disagree as long as we're also meditating love at the same time. Would you agree?
Exactly. I think that's the message. And what's happening now is God it's being taken away. It's
right.
purposely being taken away. And I think, especially as time evolves in modern society, I think you can't say it in schools, you can't say it in certain areas, in the world, and it needs to be. And this is a subtle message, so it's not, and that's important too. So, it's a message where, okay, I'm allowed to look at a sign that says God is love. I'm allowed to think about it in that way. When they're not there yet, attacking it. So if we could flood it, and there are other operators and people who do send messages out, so we're not the first on this.
Sure.
Just keep the impressions going and just hit them with it, and just say, look, you know what? It's okay to hold on to that. It's okay to just, in everything else that's going on in this world, it's okay to just reach out. Reach out and try to grab it.
Yeah.
Just even if it's little by little.
No, that's right. And our vision also for the listener, if you're listening with us right now and you're enjoying this podcast, is that we want to keep the conversation going. The impression is one thing, but then getting together on some conference calls and getting together to talk about it even more, out of those calls and out of those conversations will come different ways to express God is love. So if you've decided to join us and listen to this podcast today, which is our first podcast, please, join us again next week at godislove.love and hear more of Jimmy's testimony, hear more of really his heart. Clearly, my role in this is to get Jimmy's vision out, try to define, refine, and express the vision of it, but at the same time, not confine that message, because we don't want to limit it so much that it can't become inclusive for you, the listener. So we're very excited to meet you, very excited to have you participate in our conversations, because we know that God is huge and that he is able to open our minds to things that we haven't yet imagined. And I always laugh because God has got me and Jimmy working with Pierre and people from different backgrounds, but very similar in some ways. And, from our backgrounds as business people, we can get aggressive, we can get the adrenaline flowing, we can get, single-minded in some ways. But at the same time, we're trying to stay very, very open to the movement of God, to the movement of love, to the movement of the Spirit. And that's where we want to include your voice as you listen and as you get involved and join us on this journey. Clearly for Jimmy and clearly for me, this is not the beginning of our journey. We're walking this out 20, 30 years in. But as you join us and as you begin to walk, you're going to maybe be 50 years in. Who knows? You may be 2 minutes in. But the point is we would love to have you participate in this journey. So I want to thank everybody for listening to this initial podcast where you get to meet Jimmy DeLucia. I'm going to get his name down the way Jimmy wants me to say.
It's going to be like a paisan, DeLucia. It's a chi.
Lucia. There we go.
It's okay. DeLucia.
How do you say it, Jim?
DeLucia. Yeah.
DeLucia.
Yes.
Got it. I will do it. DeLucia. Yeah. We'll get it there. Non più drive, fa follow. We'll get it there. So it's all good. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining us on the broadcast. We're going to do more and more with Jimmy going forward. And we may even do one with you in the future as we meditate. God is love. And hit us on our website at godislove.love. God is love.
Thank you for listening to this episode of God is Love.love. And now, go to the website, godislove.love, and join the community so we can continue with the conversation. We look forward to seeing you there.